Welcome to Meet the Musicians, powered in part by Classic of Denton. The views and opinions expressed by the show hosts and their guests are those of the show host and guests, and not necessarily those of the sponsors, DentonRadio.com, or the Denton Convention and Visitors Bureau. For more information, visit the Policies and Procedures page at DentonRadio.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Meet the Musicians. We are here in studio with an artist that I'm really excited to get to chat with, Scott Sean White. How are you, man?
Doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you very much for coming and doing this. It's been, probably a year since we've had you back in the studio.
I think it's probably a couple of years.
Yeah, if not more.
Because
yeah.
Jennifer's been in Nashville for...
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
For a little context for anybody that don't know what we're talking about, we used to have host a show called Song and Story, and we would have songwriters come in and play and tell the stories behind their tunes. And this was one of the performers on one of the episodes. And I hadn't met you before that, hadn't heard your music before that, and then you started playing. Like, everybody's good. And you were like at the end of the line, and we get past the first couple artists, and you start going, and the whole room just goes. So you have really impactful music, very well written, and stick around after the interview because we're going to get a live in studio performance from this amazing songwriter. But before we get into all that, let's just get to know you a little bit better, and let's hear a little bit about your musical journey. Where'd you get started? How'd you get to the place that you are, and why do you play the type or the style of music that you're playing now?
I'll start at the end of that, and then R&B hip-hop driven band called Professor D for almost 30 years. And I played keys in it and ran it and managed it. And we did some original stuff early on, and then kind of in the middle section we did some original stuff. But so now back up to the very beginning. I grew up in Kerrville, Texas.
Okay.
And I grew up out in the sticks, and grew up for several years in a trailer that would fit in this room. And I know on the screen they can't tell how big this room is, but the trailer was 10 feet by 14 feet.
Wow.
And we had no running water for 2 years and no electricity for the first 6 months. And we were poor, but there was a whole bunch of violence in my growing up. I like to jokingly refer to it as I had a quality redneck upbringing. And everybody around me were alcoholics and or drug addicts, and it was a bunch of insanity. And so in my 20s I started, the Lord had me start dealing with it. By my 30s I wanted to start telling stories about it, but I couldn't tell those in R&B and hip hop.
True.
Not my stories.
Yeah.
Not
I
out.
mean, you could, but I understand where you're coming from.
Fit.
I understand.
And so I started writing country songs, or what I thought was country songs. Then I went to Nashville for the first time in January 2005.
Okay.
And I was 36 at the time, and went up there, spent a week. On the way back, I told my wife, I said, this feels like home. And she goes, well, I think you need to go up there at least once a month. So I've been going once or twice a month for 15 years now.
Wow.
And when I got there, the reason I said I started writing what I thought were country songs before I went to Nashville is because that first week in Nashville, I got there and I heard all these songs. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is that? That's not what I'm writing. I was like, I got a lot of work to do. And that's what they say about Nashville. You go there and get your butt kicked songwriting wise, and you either go home or you get intimidated and inspired at the same time. And that's what happened to me. I got intimidated and inspired, and just set about the task of learning how to write that lyric.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very
so
cool.
I could tell my stories.
I love that.
Yeah.
To sort of get on a bit of a side note here, but this has been going through my head a lot as I've been hearing more and more people's stories that have gone on to do really cool things. Do you feel that adversity at an early age was something that gave you drive to be able to accomplish the things you wanted to?
I think not only does it give you some drive, it either kills you or it makes you stronger, to use that cliche. But it gives you drive. It's also, to me, where real music and real songs come from. You know, this whole thing about you got to know what it's like to be poor to really appreciate what it's like to be rich. You got to know what it's like to be broken to really appreciate what it's like to be fixed, to be healed.
Yeah.
All those things are definitely true in my life, and they're definitely true in the songs that mean something to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that last thing bears some explaining because I'm a staff songwriter in Nashville,
Okay.
and we write. You know, like I'm going next week. I have, I think, 6, 7 writing appointments in 5 days. Last time I was there, I had 13 writing appointments in 5 days.
Wow.
2 of them canceled. I ended up with 11. But when you do it for your job, just honestly, you know, you don't walk into the room every day inspired by yourself.
Sure.
You don't walk in the room every day writing something that matters that day. You know, you sit in a room and you bounce ideas around, and we're trying to get Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney and Old Dominion and people like that to record these songs. So it's an interesting dance that we do on the days that we don't have something we need to say, that our soul needs to say. It's an interesting dance that we do, trying to write something commercial that could help pay some of our bills, and at the same time, hopefully, write something great, or at least really good.
Yeah.
And you know, some days you succeed, some days you don't. But anyway, so back to the the adversity thing. I think is key not only to the drive, but it's definitely key to writing the songs that really mean something, really matter to you, and the audience can tell when they matter to you. And then you're also always, it's a constant reminder that we're not alone. Because like I can go share my story about my childhood, which I do, especially in house concerts when it's you have time to tell more about the story, about how the song came to be, and all that stuff. And you discover even people that didn't have the same insanity as my childhood, or people that had it way worse than mine, they can all relate.
Yeah.
You know, and it's important to find out you're not alone in the world, just in life.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, to take another bit of a left turn, just because we're trying to get to know you a little bit better here on Meet the Musician. So when you're not playing music, what are you spending most of your time doing?
Well, I live in Poetry, Texas. We have a little 5 acres out there with a barn and a couple of horses and anywhere from 2 to 4 dogs, depending on if my kids' dogs are at the house.
Yeah.
And I'm on the road so much in Nashville. I'm in Nashville 2 weeks a month now, all the time, at least 2 weeks a month. And then I'm also on the road to songwriting festivals and writing retreats and things like that. So really, when I'm at home, once my wife gets home from work at 5:30 every day, it's just time with her, because we've been married for 29 years, together for 30, and we knew I sold the band Professor D back in November of last year. Thank you. And I did that to focus on the songwriting thing, because some good things are going on with it, which I'll elaborate a little bit more on later. But but we knew going into it, hey, I'm going to be gone more, and we have to be very intentional with our time. So when she's at work during the day, I'm a music junkie, so I mean, I'm working, either I'm taking the day off to kind of refill the tank, or sleep because I'm exhausted, or I'm, working on creativity stuff, or I produce tracks and stuff. There's something in Nashville called a track guy, and I'm one of those guys.
Cool.
But once she gets home, it's just her.
Yeah.
Her and me, and you got to be intentional about that. You just hear all sorts of stories all the time. Somebody been married for 38 years and got divorced. And once you stop working on it, you put yourself in danger. So
yeah,
we make sure we work on it.
I love that. So I'm going to sidestep yet again. Married for 29 years, been together for 30. I'm just asking everybody, how old are you?
I'm 51.
There's no freaking way. Because if you look at your face, like if somebody told me you were 31, I wouldn't bat an eye, my man. Like,
thank you.
you have a very young face. Am I right? Like the people out there in the lobby, do you believe he's 51? Yeah,
I had
exactly.
somebody ask me for my ID about a month ago.
Dude,
when I told them that, like,
the dream.
I don't
They don't even
believe
do that to
you.
me anymore.
I know. I get that from my
Whatever.
mama. She looked real young up until she had her first major stroke, but she always looked 15, 20 years younger than her age. And then this music thing, if you don't drink heavily and do a bunch of drugs, this music thing actually keeps you healthy, keeps you young. There's just not many of us that choose that road.
I understand.
I understand. And I only chose that road because my childhood was so crazy.
Yeah.
I just looked at all of them and went, all right, that's nuts. Like, why would you do that? It had nothing to do with Jesus or morals. I don't think there's anything wrong with drinking.
Yeah.
It's just there's something wrong with it for me.
Yeah.
Like it'd be a terrible idea if I started drinking. So I've never drank. And on that writer's retreat, it's funny. There's this guy. He's 75. He's on the writer's retreat. His name is Ash. And he's when he found out that he's like, you never drank? He's like, I don't know if I can trust you. And then we talked more as the week goes on. And as he found out more of my story, he's like, oh, okay. All right, well, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, man, I don't have any problem with anybody else drinking. You know, like it's just not a good idea for me. So, but again, that's between my mom's genes and not beating the hell out of my body all these years. I managed to look pretty young. So
I like it.
Which is good in my industry. It serves well too.
Congratulations. I was even thinking, like, you've got the salt and pepper 5 o'clock shadow, and I was like, man, I'm so jealous that he's got that at such a young age. Because that's such a cool look. Like, there you go.
It's authentic, That's what songwriters should be, is authentic. Should be my authentic
down to the facial hair.
Old hair. So true.
Oh man, awesome! I love it. Okay. So we're gonna break down here in a second and get into your performance.
Sure.
But we got one question we got to ask everybody. This is our version of Marry One, Kill One, Something One. This is write to or duet. And if you could write with any artist, tour with any artist, and do a duet with any artist, who would they be? They can be alive, dead, famous, not famous, anybody.
Right.
Write to or duet. Who are your 3 artists?
First of all, what is the third one in marry, kill, or?
We'll worry about that off camera.
Because I never heard of that, first of all. So I was like, what do you mean this is like marry, kill? It's our version of it. I'm like, what? But anyway.
It's just for young people.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
But no, I'm like, what? What kind of? But anyway, write with. My favorite writer on the planet is a guy named Tony Lane.
Okay.
And he's actually from Texas, but he's been in Nashville for at least 20 years. He wrote songs like I Need You for Tim McGraw and Faith Hill.
Wow.
He wrote Letters from Home for John Michael Montgomery.
Oh, that was a good tune.
Hello World, Lady Antebellum. Just a whole bunch. But he's got an album called Better Rain.
Okay.
It's the only album that he's put out. It's on iTunes and all that stuff. For any songwriters out there, I always recommend to go listen to it because it literally changed the way I write. I listened to it when I saw him one night at the Commodore in Nashville, right before I drove back to Texas. I bought his CD after that show, and I listened to it all 10 hours on the way back to Texas, and it changed the way I write. So he's a guy, if I had to write with somebody, that would be the guy. I mean, there's some close seconds. Bobby Pinson is another guy. But anyway, and then it was write, tour.
Mm-hmm.
Tour with, I would have to say, Travis Meadows.
Okay.
Although, I don't think that would ever happen. But do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't.
He's another guy, definitely in my top favorite songwriters. Super raw, honest, sometimes break your heart, even more so than the usual break your heart honest, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
His second album, I think it's his second album, it's called Killin' Uncle Buzzy, and it's about his first year of being sober and clean.
Okay.
And it's just super raw, especially coming from my background, growing up around all that and seeing all that from the outsider's perspective, not from the user or the drinker's perspective, but from the other side of it. That album really rocked my world. And so touring with him, and then Right tour and what?
Duet.
You know, I'm going to stick with songwriters just because I'm such a big fan of songs and songwriters. I mean, and I cannot overstate that enough. I love great songs, and I love great songwriters that are real people. To me, more so than just anybody else out there, except for farmers and small town folks. But anyway, I'd have to say Lori McKenna, I guess, in that sense. Have you ever heard of her?
Mm-mm.
She wrote "Humble and Kind" for Tim McGraw.
Really?
She wrote it by herself.
Wow.
And but she's legendary in the songwriting circle. She wrote "Girl Crush." She's one of the writers on "Girl Crush" for Little Big Town. She's on Miranda Lambert's current song, "It All Comes Out in the Wash."
Okay.
But she's just she's real folky and real eclectic and strange. But she, and I mean that in the best possible way.
Yeah, of course.
But she is just unbelievable, and definitely has a thing that she does. And you can, once you listen to a bunch of stuff, her stuff, you can feel it in there. So, again, that's something that would never happen. I'm not going to get to duet with Lori McKenna, but we're just talking about what if?
You never know.
What if?
You never know.
Yeah. So.
I love that. Well, very, very cool. Great answers. I almost forgot we have a plug. You are going to be just next door at LSA Burger this Saturday.
Yep.
So 6 to 9 this Saturday, LSA Burger. You're going to get to see this guy live. Stick around in just a few minutes, and you're going to get to see him perform live right here on video. So don't go anywhere. Anything else we want to plug? Places they can find shows, social media, all that good stuff?
Just the Facebook page and Instagram. If you want to follow a songwriter around the country and back and forth to Nashville and all that stuff, I try to do a decent job of posting about, especially when I'm in Nashville, because there's a lot of other songwriters out there that don't get to do that or don't live there, and just also just songwriter fans like to see that sometimes. So
love that.
Scott Sean White, SEAN, is Sean. I think my mom was had a crush on Sean Connery, so I think that's how I got my middle name. And
awesome.
So, but yeah, all those on social media, and then ScottSeanWhite.com.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
Check it all out, guys. Scott Sean White. You're not going to want to miss this. Stick around right here at DentonRadio.com to hear what I think is going to be an amazing, amazing performance from a very good songwriter. Don't go anywhere. Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We want to thank our partners and sponsors who made this show possible. And now stick around for a word from all of us here at Discover Denton. Do you love live music? If so, make Denton, Texas your next vacation. Find more information at discoverdenton.com.